Admiral John Carter stood before the large screen in the main room of the Earth space station. His back was straight and his face showed no emotion, even though inside he felt angry. On the screen, a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes looked down at him. This was Ambassador Vorith from the Zelar Empire, the strongest power in the galaxy. "Your people are quite simple, Admiral Carter," said Vorith. His voice came through a machine that changed his alien sounds into English. 200 years since your kind first left your star system, and Earth only has 3 small colony worlds? The Galactic Council finds your claims to own your solar system? Funny. Carter could feel the anger from his crew members around him. Lieutenant Lisa Miller, who ran the communication systems, kept her face calm, but her hands were tight on her control panel. The rest of the bridge crew of the USS Defender tried to look professional, but Carter knew they all felt the same shame and anger he did. "Ambassador," Carter replied in a steady voice, "Earth Federation has never wanted to take over other worlds. We have focused on building slowly and making friends." "A nice way to hide that you don't have good technology," Vorith said with what passed for a smile among his kind. "The Zelar Empire controls 57 star systems, and the Galactic Council has agreed that unused areas are a waste. We will be setting up mining operations on Mars and in your asteroid belt. This message is just to let you know." Before Carter could answer, the screen went black. The room was quiet for what felt like a long time. "Send a message to Earth Command," Carter said finally. "Tell them it's time." Miller looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Sir, do you mean Protocol Phantom?" Carter nodded. "Yes, Lieutenant. It's time to show them what Earth has really been building these past 200 years. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Paul Winters received the message from the USS Defender. He read it twice, then looked at his second-in-command, Colonel Olivia Martinez. "It's time," he said simply. Martinez nodded and turned to her computer. She typed in a series of codes that required her fingerprint and eye scan to confirm. A red button appeared on her screen. "Are you sure, sir?" she asked. "Once we activate Protocol Phantom, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we've been hiding." Winters looked at the large map on the wall that showed Earth's solar system. Red dots marked where the Zelar ships would soon arrive to begin. "Mining operations on Mars and in the asteroid belt. For 200 years we've let them think we're weak," Winters said. "We've smiled and nodded while they took the best trade deals, the richest planets, and treated us like children. All the while we've been building, preparing, and waiting for the right moment." He paused. "The Zelar have finally pushed too far. They're coming into our home system, planning to take our resources without real permission. If we don't stand up now, we never will." Martinez pressed the button. "Protocol Phantom is now active. All hidden fleet commanders are receiving their orders. Across the solar system, in hidden bases on moons, asteroids, and even under the oceans of Earth, men and women in uniforms receive the same message. Phantom Protocol active. Prepare for deployment." On Mars, deep under the surface of the Red Planet, Director Samantha Wright walked through a massive hidden base. All around her, thousands of workers moved with new purpose. The air buzzed with excitement and nervousness. "Is it really happening?" asked Chief Engineer Greg Nelson as he fell into step beside her. Wright nodded. "The Zelar are planning to set up mining operations here on Mars. They didn't even ask properly, just told us they're coming." "After all these years," Nelson said, looking down at the floor below where workers were rushing around what looked like empty spaces. But Wright and Nelson knew what was really there. Invisible ships, hidden by technology that Earth had developed in secret and kept hidden from the watching eyes of the galaxy. "How long until they arrive?" Nelson asked. 3 days, Wright answered. "Just enough time to get everything ready." She stopped walking and looked out over the busy scene below. For 2 centuries, the people of Earth have paid high taxes to fund this project. They've accepted lower living standards than other worlds so we could pour resources into our hidden fleet. They've endured being laughed at and looked down on by the Zelar and others. And now they'll see it was worth it, Nelson said. Wright wasn't so sure. We're about to change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zealar control 57 systems. They have hundreds of warships, but they've never faced anything like what we're about to show them. In space, aboard the USS Defender, Admiral Carter received confirmation that Protocol Phantom was active. He turned to Lieutenant Miller. Send a message to the Mars Defense Station. Tell them to act normal when the Zealar mining fleet arrives. No extra defenses, no unusual activities. Everything must appear as the Zealar expect. Yes, sir, Miller replied. And the Phantom fleet? We'll remain completely invisible until I give the order, Carter said. The Zealar must believe they're entering an undefended system. Only then will they understand the full impact of what we've achieved. Carter looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zealar mining fleet was coming. They expected to find a weak Earth that would protest but ultimately give in to their demands. They had no idea they were flying into a trap 200 years in the making. Lieutenant, Carter said quietly, set course for Mars. We need to be there when our guests arrive. As the USS Defender changed direction and accelerated toward the red planet, Carter thought about how soon the galaxy would know the truth about Earth. The ridicule would stop, the dismissive attitudes would vanish, and a new age would begin, one where humanity took its rightful place among the stars. The Zealar Empire had no idea what was coming. Director Samantha Wright stood in the massive underground base beneath the surface of Mars. She watched as technicians and engineers moved quickly between workstations. The air felt electric with tension and excitement. On the huge screen in front of her, she could see the incoming Zealar mining fleet, 12 large ships with 3 warships for protection. They'll be here in 18 hours, said General Eric Thompson, who had just arrived from Earth to oversee the operation. His face looked tired after the long journey, but his eyes were sharp and focused, and they have no idea what's waiting for them, Wright said, allowing herself a small smile. Thompson nodded and looked around the busy control room. Show me the fleet. Wright led him through a side door and onto a walkway that overlooked what appeared to be an empty underground lake. The huge cave stretched for miles in every direction, carved out of the Martian rock over decades in absolute secrecy. Impressive, isn't it? Wright said. Thompson frowned. I don't see anything. Wright pulled a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. Suddenly, Thompson could see what was really there. Not an empty cave, but a massive fleet of warships. 37 vessels of various sizes, each one more advanced than anything the Zealar Empire had ever seen. The personal viewer lets you see through the quantum stealth systems, Wright explained. Without it, even standing right next to one of our ships, you'd see nothing. Remarkable, Thompson whispered. He pointed to the largest ship in the center. Is that the USS Shadowhawk? Wright nodded. Our flagship, over a mile long and equipped with weapons that can disable a Zealar battlecruiser without destroying it. Its defensive systems can withstand anything the Empire can throw at it. And Admiral Carter. We'll arrive in 6 hours to take command, Wright said. The Zealar mining fleet will enter Mars orbit in 18 hours. That gives us 12 hours to prepare for the unveiling. They walked along the walkway, looking at the invisible fleet that only they could see. Crews moved in and out of the ships, loading supplies and running final checks on systems. 200 years, Thompson said quietly. 200 years of being treated like children by the Galactic Council, of being laughed at behind our backs, of letting them think we were weak. It was the only way, Wright replied. If they had known what we were building, they would have stopped us long ago. The combined fleets of the Galactic Council would have crushed Earth before we were ready. And now? Now we're ready, Wright said simply. In another part of the base, Captain Alice Johnson was preparing to take command of the USS Spectre, one of the most advanced ships in Earth's secret fleet. She stood in her quarters looking at herself in the mirror as she adjusted her uniform. After 15 years of training for this moment, it was finally happening. There was a knock at her door. Enter, she called. Commander Daniel Scott, her first officer, stepped inside. The crew is ready, Captain. All systems check out at 100%. Johnson nodded. And morale? High, Scott said with a smile. Everyone is eager to show the Zelar what Earth is really capable of. Good, Johnson said. Because this isn't just about showing off our technology. It's about changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. After today, nothing will be the same. Scott's smile faded. Do you think there will be fighting? Johnson considered the question. I hope not. The plan is to surround them completely, giving them no choice but to retreat. But if they do choose to fight... She left the sentence unfinished. We'll be ready either way, Scott assured her. On the Zelar mining fleet's command ship, Mining Director Kelzor reviewed the final approach to Mars. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the reports. Pathetic defenses, he told his second in command. One small station with outdated weapons, hardly worth bringing our escort ships. The humans might protest, his assistant suggested. Kelzor made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. Let them. What can they do? Their technology is 2 centuries behind ours. They should be grateful we're leaving them Earth and their 3 tiny colonies. Some on the council suggested we should have asked permission more formally, the assistant said carefully. Permission? Kelzor laughed, a strange clicking sound. We don't ask permission from lesser species. The resources of their system will serve the Empire far better than they ever could. Besides, the Council has already approved our operation. Little did Kelzor know that every word he spoke was being monitored by Earth's intelligence systems. In the Mars base control room, Director Wright and General Thompson listened to the Zelar's conversation. They're so confident, Wright said, shaking her head. That works in our favor, Thompson replied. The more surprised they are, the less likely they'll be to fight. A communications officer approached them. Admiral Carter's ship has just docked, sir. He'll be here in 10 minutes. Thompson straightened his uniform. Good, it's time to finalize the plan. When Admiral Carter entered the control room, everyone stood at attention. He had come directly from his confrontation with the Zelar ambassador, and his face showed the strain of the past few days. At ease, he said, and the room relaxed slightly. He walked to the central table where Wright and Thompson waited. Director Wright, General Thompson, he greeted them. Is everything ready? Yes, Admiral, Wright answered. The fleet is at 100% readiness. All ships are fully crewed and armed. We're just waiting for your command. Carter looked at the large screen showing the approaching Zelar fleet. They'll be here in 17 hours. I want all ship captains briefed in 2 hours. We'll go over the final plan then. He turned to face the busy control room. For 2 centuries, we've hidden our true strength. We've allowed the galaxy to think we were weak and primitive. We've endured their ridicule and their disrespect. His voice grew stronger. Today that ends. Today we show the Zelar Empire and the entire Galactic Council what humanity is truly capable of. A cheer went up from the control room staff. Carter let it continue for a moment, then raised his hand for silence. But remember, he said seriously, our goal is not war. Our goal is respect. We want to take our rightful place in the galactic community, not destroy it. If we can achieve that without firing a shot, so much the better. He looked back at the screen, at the Zelar ships that had no idea what was waiting for them. The next 24 hours will change history, he said, quietly. Let's make sure it changes for the better. Captain Alice Johnson stood on the bridge of the USS Spectre, watching the main screen as the Zelar mining fleet entered Mars orbit. Her ship, like the rest of Earth's secret fleet, remained completely invisible. The quantum stealth technology that Earth scientists had developed in secret made the ships undetectable to all known scanning methods. They're right on schedule, said Commander Daniel Scott, her first officer. He stood beside her, his face calm, but his eyes showing excitement. Any unusual activity? Johnson asked. No, Captain, replied Lieutenant Kevin Phillips from the tactical station. They appear relaxed. Their shields are at minimum power and their weapons are not active. They don't expect any trouble. Johnson nodded and opened a secure channel to Admiral Carter, who was coordinating the operation from the Mars base. Admiral, the Zelar fleet has entered orbit and is proceeding exactly as expected. They suspect nothing. Good, Carter replied. His face on the small screen looked serious. All ships maintain stealth mode until my signal. Remember, we want to surround them completely before revealing ourselves. Understood, Admiral, Johnson said. On the main screen, she watched as the 12 Zealer mining ships and their 3 warship escorts moved into position around Mars. They were large vessels, impressive by most standards, but Johnson knew that Earth's hidden fleet outmatched them in both size and technology. Look at them, Scott said quietly. So confident, so sure of their superiority. They've had no reason to think otherwise, Johnson replied. For 200 years, we've let them believe we were decades behind them technologically. Was it worth it? Scott asked. All the ridicule? Being treated as lesser beings in our own galaxy? Johnson looked around the bridge of her ship. The USS Spectre was over half a mile long and equipped with weapons that could disable a Zealar warship without destroying it. Its stealth system made it completely invisible until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. We're about to find out, she said. In the Mars Base Control Center, Admiral Carter watched the positions of all ships on the large tactical display. Earth's hidden fleet was moving into place, surrounding the Zealar ships in a perfect sphere. Formation. Each Earth vessel was assigned to a specific position, creating an inescapable net around the invaders. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Director Wright, who stood beside him. The formation will be complete in 3 minutes. Carter nodded. And the Zealar? Still oblivious, General Thompson reported from his station. They're beginning to launch their mining survey probes toward the surface. Their communication chatter indicates they expect no resistance. Carter's face hardened. They're about to get the surprise of their lives. On the Zealar command ship, Mining Director Kelzor watched with satisfaction as his fleet deployed around the red planet. Everything was proceeding smoothly. The humans had sent a weak protest message from their pathetic Mars defense station, but otherwise had taken no action. Begin the survey operations, he ordered. I want the richest mining sites identified within 6 hours. Yes, Director, his assistant replied. Shall we respond to the human protest? Kelzor made a dismissive gesture. Why bother? What can they do about it? At that moment, an alarm sounded on the bridge. The sensor officer's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in confusion. Director, he called out. I'm detecting a massive energy surge all around us. From where? Kelzor demanded, suddenly alert. From everywhere, the sensor officer replied, his voice showing confusion. It's as if dozens of ships just appeared out of nowhere. Back on the USS Spectre, Captain Johnson received the signal from Admiral Carter. All ships, disengage stealth systems now. She turned to Lieutenant Phillips. Bring us visible, Lieutenant. Full power to shields, but keep weapons in defensive posture only. Yes, Captain, Phillips replied, pressing a series of commands on his console. All around the Zealar mining fleet, 37 warships suddenly appeared from empty space. Earth's phantom fleet, hidden for so long, now revealed itself in an awesome display of power. The ships varied in size, from fast attack vessels to massive dreadnoughts, all positioned in a perfect sphere around the Zealar ships, giving them no route to escape. Open a channel to Admiral Carter, Johnson ordered. When Carter's face appeared on screen, she reported, Stealth systems disengaged, Admiral. All ships visible and in position. Carter nodded. Excellent. Open a channel to the Zealar command ship. INT-C. The Mars Base Control Center. Carter straightened his uniform as the communications officer worked to establish contact with the Zealar ship. Channel open, sir, the officer reported. On the main screen, the blue face of Mining Director Kelzor appeared. His 4 eyes were wide with shock, and his mouth opened and closed several times before he spoke. What is the meaning of this? He finally managed to say. Where did these ships come from? Director Kelzor, Carter said calmly. This is Admiral John Carter of the Earth Federation. The ships you see around you have been here all along. Earth has developed technology that your sensors cannot detect. We have maintained the appearance of technological inferiority while developing in secret. Kelzor's shock turned to anger. This is a violation of Galactic Council regulations. You are required to register all military vessels. Carter smiled slightly. We're familiar with those regulations. They were created by the founding species of the Council to maintain their technological advantage over newer members. Earth chose not to comply. You will withdraw your mining fleet immediately, Carter continued. Earth's solar system is sovereign territory. Any attempts at unauthorized mining or resource extraction will be met with force. Kelzor's blue skin darkened with anger. You dare to threaten the Zelar Empire? We control 57 star systems. Our full military fleet will crush your pathetic rebellion. Perhaps, Carter replied calmly. But not today. Today, your ships are surrounded, outnumbered, and outgunned. You can leave peacefully or you can test our resolve. The choice is yours. On the USS Spectre, Captain Johnson watched the exchange on her screen. The bridge was silent as everyone waited for the Zelar's response. Will they fight? Scott asked quietly. I don't think so, Johnson replied. They're bullies, and bullies usually back down when challenged. After a long moment, Kelzor spoke again, his voice tight with suppressed rage. We will withdraw for now, but the Galactic Council will hear of this deception. There will be consequences. We're counting on it, Carter replied. Earth has been silent long enough. It's time for our voice to be heard in the Council chambers. The eye. Screen went dark as Kelzor cut the transmission. In the control center, a cheer went up from the staff. 2 centuries of hiding, of pretending to be less than they were, had finally ended. Earth had revealed its strength and the galaxy would never be the same. Carter turned to Director Wright and General Thompson. It's only the beginning, he said seriously. The real challenge comes next. The Zealer will go straight to the Galactic Council and will need to be ready for their response. Wright nodded. The diplomatic team is prepared. President Bennett is already on her way to address the Council personally. Carter looked back at the screen, where the Zealer ships were now moving away from Mars, heading out of Earth's solar system. 200 years of patience, he said quietly. Now we'll see if it was worth it. President Laura Bennett sat in her office on Earth, watching the live transmission from the Galactic Council chambers. The emergency session had been called just hours after the Zealer mining fleet had retreated from Mars. On the large screen, representatives from 30 different alien species argued loudly about Earth's surprising revelation. The Zelar ambassador, a tall blue-skinned figure named Zoral, stood in the center of the circular chamber. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he spoke with anger in his voice. The humans have violated our most sacred laws, he shouted. They built military vessels in secret. They developed cloaking technology they did not register with the Council. They must be punished severely for this deception. Several other representatives nodded in agreement, but many more looked uncertain. Earth's sudden display of advanced technology had shocked the entire galactic community. Secretary of Defense William Harris sat beside President Bennett. They're divided, he said quietly. The Zelar and their closest allies want sanctions against us, but many of the others are simply surprised and curious. Bennett nodded. And the independent worlds? Secretary of State Michelle Rodriguez, who sat on Bennett's other side, handed her a datapad. 7 systems have already sent private messages asking to establish direct relations with Earth, outside of Council oversight. They've been under Zelar influence for decades and see us as a potential counterbalance. On the screen, a new figure moved to the center of the Council chamber. This was the Abaran representative, a tall being that looked like it was made of crystal. The Abarans were known for their balanced judgments and were respected by all Council members. The revelation of Earth's technological capabilities requires us to reconsider our assumptions, the Abaran said, its voice clear through the translator. More importantly, it should make us question how we have treated newer species in our community. The human delegation has asked to address the Council. I believe we should hear them. There was a moment of silence, then a chorus of agreements from many representatives. The Zelar ambassador tried to object, but he was outvoted. The human delegation will be allowed to speak, announced the Council chairperson. Bennett stood up and straightened her suit. That's my cue, she said to her advisors. Wish me luck. The speech is ready, Madam President, Rodriguez said. Just remember, this is our moment to redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. In the council chambers, Admiral John Carter stepped onto the speaking platform. He had been chosen to introduce President Bennett, who would address the council remotely, from Earth. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, Carter began, his voice steady and confident. For 200 years, Earth has been a member of this community. For 200 years, we have been treated as lesser beings, as technological inferiors, as a species not worthy of respect. He paused, looking around at the gathered representatives. We allowed this treatment. We encouraged it. We let you believe we were weak, because we needed time. Time to develop, time to build, time to prepare for this day. The chamber was completely silent now, all eyes fixed on the human admiral. Earth does not seek domination or conquest. We have no desire to replace the Zealar Empire as the galaxy's bully. What we seek is respect and equal treatment for all species, regardless of when they join the galactic community. Carter gestured to the large screen behind him, which lit up to show President Bennett. I present to you Laura Bennett, President of the Earth Federation, who will explain our vision for a new galactic order. On Earth, Bennett took a deep breath as she saw herself appear on the council chamber's screen. This was the most important speech of her life, perhaps the most important speech in human history. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she began. Yesterday, Earth revealed technology that surprised you. Technology we kept hidden for centuries. Some call this deception. I call it self-preservation. She stood straighter, her voice growing stronger. When Earth first joined the galactic community, we quickly learned that the older species, particularly the Zealar Empire, viewed newer members as resources to be exploited, not as equals. The Council's own laws are designed to maintain this imbalance of power. There were some uncomfortable movements among the representatives, but none interrupted. Earth chose a different path. We appeared to accept our lesser status while secretly building our strength, not to conquer or control, but to ensure our independence and survival. Bennett walked closer to the camera. Today, I propose a new vision for our galaxy, a true alliance of worlds based on mutual respect and shared governance, an alliance where technological advancements are shared rather than hoarded, where no species is considered lesser because they are newer to the stars. On a dozen worlds across the galaxy, leaders watched Bennett's speech with growing interest. Many had long chafed under Zealar dominance but had lacked the strength to challenge it. Now Earth was offering an alternative. In the council chamber, the Zealar ambassador's skin had darkened with anger. Pretty words, he hissed. But they do not change the fact that humans violated council law. They must be punished or other worlds will follow their example. The Abaran representative turned its crystalline face toward the Zealar. Perhaps other worlds should follow their example. Perhaps it is time for change. A murmur spread through the chamber as representatives began to discuss among themselves. The council chairperson called for order. We will take time to consider Earth's revelations and President Bennett's proposal, the chairperson announced. For now, no action will be taken against Earth. This council needs time to understand the full implications of recent events. The Zealar ambassador stormed from the chamber in protest, but few others followed him. Most stayed, their eyes still fixed on the human president on the screen. Back on Earth, Bennett ended the transmission and let out a long breath. How did I do? She asked her advisors. Perfectly, Rodriguez said with a smile. The seed has been planted. Already the Meridian Cluster has requested an immediate meeting to discuss trade agreements outside council oversight. Harris nodded in agreement. And our intelligence suggests at least 5 Zealar-controlled worlds are considering requesting Earth's protection against Zealar retaliation if they declare independence. Bennett walked to the window of her office and looked out at the Washington skyline. It's happening faster than we expected, she said. The galaxy is ready for change. And Earth will lead that change, Harris said confidently. Not lead, Bennett corrected him. Partner. That's the whole point. We don't want to replace the Zealar as the dominant power. We want to end the very concept of dominant powers. She turned back to her advisors. The next few weeks will be critical. The Zealar won't give up their position easily. They may even consider military action against us or our new allies. Let them try, Harris said. Our fleet is ready. Bennett shook her head. War is the last thing we want. Our goal is to create a new order based on cooperation, not to start a galactic conflict. Then we'd better make sure our diplomacy is as strong as our ships, Rodriguez said. The real work begins now. Bennett nodded. 200 years of patience and planning had brought Earth to this moment. Now they would see if humanity could truly change the course of galactic history. 5 years had passed since Earth revealed its secret fleet to the galaxy. Admiral John Carter stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the massive space structure that now served as the headquarters for the newly formed Galactic Alliance. Below him, Earth looked beautiful, a blue and green jewel against the blackness of space. "Enjoying the view, Admiral?" asked a familiar voice. Carter turned to see Captain Alice Johnson approaching. She now wore the rank of Fleet Commander, having been promoted after the events at Mars 5 years ago. "Just thinking about how much has changed," he replied with a smile. 5 years ago, we were considered a backward civilization barely worth talking to. Johnson nodded as she joined him at the large window. "And now 12 former Zealer systems have joined our alliance, with more asking to join every month. Not because of our warships," Carter noted, "but because of how we chose to use them." It was true. After revealing the Phantom Fleet, Earth could have easily set itself up as the new galactic superpower, replacing the Zealar Empire with human dominance. Instead, President Bennett had created a true alliance, where all member worlds had equal say in decisions regardless of their size or technology level. "The trade delegation from the Meridian Cluster arrives tomorrow," Johnson said. "Their technology exchange program is going to help our farming worlds grow more food." Carter nodded. "And our stealth systems will help them protect their outer colonies from raiders." The door to the observation deck slid open and a young lieutenant entered. She saluted crisply. "Admiral, the Zealar diplomatic envoy has arrived. Ambassador Ryan Patel is ready to begin negotiations for their full admission to the alliance." "The final holdouts," Johnson remarked quietly after the lieutenant left. Carter smiled. "Not holdouts anymore. Just the last to realize that working together is better than ruling over others." He straightened his uniform. "Let's go welcome them to the new galactic community. One where no species gets laughed at for being different or underestimated because they seem weak." As they walked toward the diplomatic section, Carter thought about the long journey that had brought humanity to this point. The patience of hiding their true capabilities for 2 centuries. The careful planning. The difficult decision to finally reveal themselves. When they entered the diplomatic hall, Ambassador Ryan Patel was waiting. He had been Earth's top diplomat for 3 years now, and his skill at negotiation had helped bring many worlds into the alliance. "Admiral Carter, Fleet Commander Johnson," Patel greeted them with a warm smile. "The Zealer delegation is nervous. This is a big step for them." "Giving up their empire can't be easy," Johnson replied. "They're not giving it up," Patel corrected her gently. "They're transforming it into something better. The 12 worlds that left them are now equal partners, and the 45 that stayed with them will benefit from our shared technology and protection." Carter nodded. "Is former mining director Kelzor part of the delegation?" Patel's smile widened. "Indeed he is. He's now the Zealar Minister of Interspecies Affairs. Quite a change from the angry director who tried to claim Mars for mining 5 years ago." "Life is full of surprises," Carter said. Inside the main conference room, the blue-skinned Zealar delegation stood as Earth's representatives entered. At their head was Kelzor, looking older but just as imposing as he had 5 years ago. His 4 eyes fixed on Carter immediately. "Admiral Carter," he said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "We meet again, under very different circumstances." "Minister Kelzor," Carter replied with a respectful nod. "Welcome to Harmony Station." Kelzor's blue skin darkened slightly, which Carter had learned was the Zealar equivalent of a blush. "I owe you an apology, Admiral. 5 years ago I called your people primitive and weak. I was wrong, and my error in judgment nearly led to conflict. We all misjudge sometimes, Carter said diplomatically. What matters is how we learn and grow from our mistakes. The Zealar minister seemed to appreciate this response. My government has reviewed the terms of joining your alliance. We find them fair. More than fair, if I'm honest. Not my alliance, Carter corrected him. Our alliance. Every member world has equal voice, equal rights, and equal responsibilities. That is why we wish to join, Kelzor said. The old way of empire building is dying across the galaxy. Those who don't adapt will be left behind. As the formal negotiations began, Carter found his mind wandering back to that day 5 years ago when Earth had finally revealed its true strength. So much had changed since then, almost all of it for the better. The galaxy was more peaceful now. Trade flowed more freely between worlds. The stealth technology that Earth had kept secret was now shared with trusted allies, while other Earth, innovations in medicine and agriculture had improved lives across dozens of systems. Later, after the day's negotiations had ended successfully, Carter met with President Bennett, who had traveled to Harmony Station for the historic signing ceremony, planned for the next day. Did you ever imagine it would turn out this way? Bennett asked as they shared a quiet dinner in her private quarters. Carter considered the question. I hoped, he said finally, but I didn't dare expect it. When we planned the unveiling of the fleet, we prepared for every scenario, including full-scale war with the Zealar. And instead we're welcoming them as partners, Bennett said with satisfaction. It worked because you had the wisdom not to simply replace one empire with another, Carter told her. You offered a genuinely better alternative. Bennett smiled. Earth remembered its own history. How many times did one empire fall only to be replaced by another? We wanted to break that cycle, not just in human history, but in galactic history. Tomorrow will mark the end of the last major empire in the galaxy, Carter noted. The Zealar joining the alliance means the old order is truly finished. Not an end, Bennett corrected him. A transformation. The beginning of something better. Outside, the window of Bennett's quarters, ships from a dozen different worlds moved around Harmony Station. They came from species that, until recently, had been bitter rivals or oppressed colonies. Now they worked together, traded together, learned from each other. Earth's long patience had paid off in ways no one could have predicted. By hiding their strength until the perfect moment, then using that strength not for domination but for change, humans had transformed the galaxy. As Carter looked out at the ships, he felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors but as partners, not through force but through wisdom. The ridicule was long forgotten. The future was bright, and it belonged to all species, working together as equals.